get going here. Oh, so excited to get back into Darkest Dungeon 2. If you're not aware, Darkest Dungeon 1, definitely a favorite, all-time favorite strategy kind of game of mine. Super excited to have a little bit more time spent with Darkest Dungeon 2. I had a little bit of time spent in the early stages of early access, but haven't really dabbled in it too much since they've done some major updates. So very excited to get back into it. I have seen some things, just not completely blind, but we'll kind of walk our way through some of this stuff as we go. So we're going to start a new journey here, kind of starting off fresh from the tail end of my previous run. If you're not aware, they have kind of shifted a little bit more towards like a rogue-like sort of setting for Darkest Dungeon 2.
Your sanctum, adrift in this bituminous nightmare.
So here right at the beginning, we're just picking a chapter to begin with. These are going to be different chapters of the game as you progress. I think each chapter is going to end up representing its own unique boss at the end. So right now we only have access to the very first chapter. I've not beaten this boss at all yet, so we're going to go ahead and start here. Just going.
The shackles of denial must be destroyed.
All right, and our lovely little rickety-ass carriage. These shit's gonna fall apart anytime now.
Between semesters, we would spend our days rambling the woods, talking excitedly of esoteric theory and ancient mysteries.
Exposition.
The crossroads, a place between places.
Love it. Love the art. Way back. Alright, so from the get-go, basically the way this works, we're going to be picking, 4 characters to start with, and they're going to stick with us pretty much through our entire run. One run is going to be, ends kind of in an attempt to try to beat the final boss, get all the way to the mountain being where this new Darkest Dungeon this horrible happening is. So we're going to have to try to fight our way through 4 different regions and get all the way to the mountain and then take on the final boss, and doing so completes you a chapter. So I think the idea of the game being for full completion all the way through, you'd be doing that through the end of the 5th chapter. Obviously we're not quite there yet, being super early on, only have 1 chapter released. As you can see, I've got just the 4 standard default characters right here, good old classic characters you may remember from Darkest Dungeon 1 if you have any depth there. Good old Men-at-Arms, Highwayman Dismas, can't forget him of course, Grave Robber Audrey, as well as Paracelsus, the Plague Doctor. So pretty smooth how they blended some of the previous mechanics from the first game into a little bit of the same thing, just a little bit of a tweak in the second game. So as you may remember, we have, where are they? Quirks, yeah. So quirks do come into play for all the characters, and they start with a positive and a negative quirk from the get-go when you're picking them up to put them on the roster. And so these are kind of just randomly selected, from the different things you can have. So this is obviously a really amazing one to have for him as a highwayman. We'll put that to great use. Hemophilia, not so much. Not so want that one, but we'll get through it. Fear of animals, okay, whatever. So these you can remove. You can interact with a hospital and remove these if you are so lucky to come across a hospital. But just some things that can come into play for your characters as you grab them. So this being a roguelike, as we pick these 4 characters and add them to the roster, it's not quite the same thing as Darkest Dungeon 1, in where you have a consistent, recurring roster where you can name that one character and you'll have that one guy, and then if he dies, that's like his permadeath, you'll never have that character again. These characters operate more in the way that they are archetypes, so that you'll be bringing a Man-at-Arms.
Pride.
Out
More
with you.
devastating than the horrors of 100 campaigns.
So you're just gonna let them talk sometimes. You'll be bringing an archetype of these characters out with you every time you take them out on an exposition, but it's not exactly, let's say, that one level 4 highwayman that you've been raising up from the carriage since he was a wee baby man. So
Hunted, harried, a fugitive seeking to outpace the past.
love it. Only have these 4 characters unlocked right now, but as you can see, we've got many more to get through here a little bit later on as we get some more candles. Candles being the main currency for meta progression. That was the biggest, most recent update with the Altar of Hope update, is the new candle system, and we'll go over that as we go a little bit further in here.
Avarice slips unseen, into the catacombs of the mind.
And then, of course, last but not least,
Indiscriminate science stains the surgeon's hands.
I love it. We'll pick it up. I just love his voice. So, standard default roster here. I haven't watched anyone else so far yet. So we'll move on to the next little step here. The valley. So we're gonna enter the very first cursory little
The
introductory
time for
zone.
denial has passed.
Must face your failures, make them either. So I am controlling the carrots with the WASD, W-A-S-D controls. Interestingly enough, it is good to run over these little piles. It's kind of a small little mechanic. You can run over piles, you sometimes get gold, sometimes get items, so there is some benefit to be had from running over those things. Here's an Altar of Hope, and so the way this basically works is each run as you're going along, you'll be accruing these candles, as you can see, screwed about everywhere. It seems like a fire hazard if you ask me. I'm in the middle of the woods, but hey, what do I know? So you'll be accruing these candles, and these are going to be your currency for all sorts of different meta progression, permanent upgrades that stay with your account, and we'll go over those right now. So these are just what I've accrued from my previous run, my last time that I, kind of cashed in at. So you have all these different, kind of little areas, very much akin to the Hamlet from Darkest Dungeon 1, if you may remember that. So lots of correlations there. We have the Intrepid Coast, Working Fields, Living City, and the Timeless Wood. So each of these, when you jump into them, kind of represent different areas that you can spend your candles to, upgrade and unlock. And these are permanent upgrades. As you can see, I have a little small head start here. So for our Stagecoach, we have a little bit more of an one more equipment slot when we begin. That's nice. Plus 2 inventory slots, so just some basic stuff to get us going here. Everything from let's see, you get more relics and more baubles when you go to the Valley Hoarder. That's for 5 candles. Let's see, a bunch of relics when you arrive at the Hoarder. So all sorts of stuff, like if you really wanted to boost up your bartering. Let's see, what is this? These are different skins. So you can have different skins and appearances for your Stagecoach. So that'll be fun a little bit later on as those become a little bit less expensive. Like I'm not dropping 36 candles. Oh my god. There will be pets, as you can see, companionship here. That's coming soon, not quite out yet, but so you'll have a little companion animal of some kind come along with you at some point, so that'll be a fun thing to look forward to. The Infernal Flame, this is kind of their way to represent the torchless runs from Darkest Dungeon 1. I'm not going to get into this right now, this is a little bit above my pay grade at the second, but that'll be an option for fun to mess around with later on. So. Moving right along, we've got
Spare a
Working
thought for
Fields.
tools of iron. Such implements will serve us well.
So these, similar, we're still using that same candle currency, but this is where we're unlocking, various items in different categories. We've got trinkets, operate the same way as Darkest Dungeon 1. Little trinkets you affix to your character, give them all sorts of lovely, beneficial upgrades. Can have a push pro and a con there. You've got your combat items. These are a new type of item that exists. A different kind of item you can assign to your character that they can actively use in combat, either actually as an attack or as a healing item or bandages, whatever. And these don't cost a skill, so they don't cost your action. So it's kind of like a free little item. They are consumable, so you will use it up, but it's nice to just have that in the back pocket sometimes. Stagecoach items. These are things that pertain specifically to your Stagecoach, so you can, get more inventory space, you can get more scouting chance, all sorts of lovely little nicks and doodads there we'll look at a little bit later on. And then inn items, another category of item. Inn is kind of like a phase of your journey, which is their correlation to what I would say camping is in Darkest Dungeon 1. Everyone's kind of huddled furtively around your little firewood. You've got a nice little campfire going. In between legs of your journey, like I mentioned earlier, you've got 4 legs that lead up to the mountain, and a successful run leads you all the way to the mountain. You beat the boss there. At the end of each of these legs, these 4 legs, you have the option you do rest at an inn. And at this inn, you can use various items, various things to improve your relations between your party, remove stress, give yourself different buffs, all sorts of cool stuff. So in items are things that you'll use in that setting, of course. Now, the whole point of this whole menu, you can expend candles to unlock, it's some random one trinket, some one random combat item here. And you have no idea what you're going to get, but that both unlocks it permanently for you to find on this account in the future, and then gives you a sample of whatever that item is right there in the moment. So that's kind of cool that way.
These
Next
are
category.
beaten, broken souls, and yet our fortunes ride with them.
These are actually more pertinent to like your permanent character upgrades. So this is the menu you can interact with to unlock new characters. For example, the Hellion, Runaway, you got your Jester, Leper, Occultist, and Bounty Hunter. All sorts of classic names we've seen from the first game with the exception of the Runaway. And so as you go down these trees, just starts with usually like a trinket, kind of an upgrade for a cheap little 2-candle boost. So things like this would be probably somewhat helpful, but there are some serious cons to be had with some of these trinkets. For example, I did get the Highwayman one, the Rat Skull trinket. Pretty nice to have that extra boosted damage, but can be a little disadvantageous getting rooted into place. But we'll go over all those tokens and whatnot here a little bit later on. These skill trees also get you to the point of where you can unlock paths, which is another cool little way that you can even more further tune a character to play a certain way. For example, you can see here, I don't have this unlocked yet, but it could be an option, the Rogue path for the Highwaymen. Up close and personal, that's how the job gets done. Gives you a boost of damage if you're in rank 1, as you can see there, but lesser damage penalty the further back you go. So you definitely don't want to be a backlining position with this kind of Highwayman flavor. And so up close and personal is where it's at, and also point blank shot gives you a free riposte. So this really puts you up in the mix and kind of tilts the character a little bit further for that front line kind of heavy hitting damage kind of action. So all sorts of things that you will unlock as we go a little bit further down, and these apply for every single character, of course. It gives you all sorts of options to tinker around with and unlock, and just it's gonna be a good time. I'm pretty excited for it. I think in the long term it'll be a good time. We have got
The more they have to hold on to, the harder they will fight.
This is going to be much further down the road. This is a mechanic called memories. And so I think these are things that essentially when you take a character all the way through to the mountain and you successfully beat it, you can get like kind of like a super powered version of that character in this, and by way of a memory that they unlock that carries with you through until your next run until that character dies. I have not unlocked any memories. I have not had the chance to really interact with that system at all, so that remains to be seen in my own hands, but that's kind of a down the road kind of a thing, so we'll look at that. And then the recollection is just a recap of all the items that you have unlocked so far, so it's kind of a brochure of stuff you've got. So we do have to spend our candles, so what we're going to do here, I'm actually going to go into the characters here. I think I do want a path for the Highwayman. This I think is going to be pretty excellent. I want that path for him, and then I want also Plague Doctor stuff. Really been digging the Plague Doctor. She's a favorite of mine. I don't really love that trinket, but we got to get it to get through. Surgeon Path, Suture Restore, both of their uses. So a little bit more health for her, boosts her melee damage. Not that useful, I don't think, for the role that I'd be putting her in mostly. I've been really loving the Blight with her. Going in pretty heavy with that. Let's see, you can see more Death Blow resist. Let's see where our next, this is kind of boys down there. Next trinket. That's not bad, but that's expensive to get all the way down there. I could get all the way to the Alchemist path. Less health, more Blight chance. Blight causing skills, extra crit chance boost, and then a whole bunch of resistances, which could be valuable, but you're a little squishier with the overall health. But that's for a massive 13 candle investment. That's like everything I've got. Or we could throw on the Runaway. Wouldn't be able to use it right away because we've already committed to the 4 characters we have in the roster right now. Range skills. Oh yeah, that's a little less desirable. So just 25% chance to gain stress for hitting with a range skill, but more crit chance for your melee skills and more bleed damage for open vein, which is pretty nice. I think that's kind of a nice little call back to the lore of the Highwayman, how he accidentally gunned down a woman and child in like a carriage or something. I think is part of his lore. So that's a little dark, but part of the lore for him. I've really been enjoying kind of going a little more of the trinkets. I'm going to stick with some trinkets uploaded.
Every twinkling recollection is another implement at our disposal.
Consulting insignia, distance, so random all-in turn start, small chance for a block token. Gain on first round. Not amazing, not terrible. I'm not going to complain about it with another one.
New instruments will help us diagnose the world's affliction
Blight.
and overcome
Don't
it.
love that. If noxious item is equipped, more blight chance. Okay, well that's good. See, there's different types of items like noxious here. I think there's different, flavors of items of trinkets that you can have on your characters to make a little bit more better interplay between the items. Let's see, that brings us to 16. Already got 4 unlocked here for combat items. I really think I need to probably put a little bit more into some of these characters. Super love that, to be honest. But this path, better range skills, way worse melee skills, more crit, and less movement resistance. I'm using it mostly for the thrown dagger and mostly for the blight at the moment. Don't really have any other skills for her unlocked. What is this? Although, this could be. I think I'm doing this. I'm gonna go with the Man-at-Arms. He's been a nice anchor, a nice damage sponge for the group. So I'm gonna go with him. Prince of Pride, Price of Pride. 33% chance for greater block, which will be nice. And then Days chance, real great chance to get that, but hey, I'll take it. And we'll do Sergeant Pass as well. So that is good there. Let's pass that. A little more death blow resistance, a little more stun. I think let's call that good there. And maybe let's do this so we can help our overall consistency as far as having resources available. So now when we hit the Valley Hoarder, which we will hit soon, it's a little bit of a boost to how many resources you get from the get-go. And then this is a good one. More loot from running over road debris, just gives you more chances to cycle through items you might want. Chance to cancel it. Yep. Oh, that's good.
Hail the vessel of your deliverance.
So down to 1 candle here. I think you do have to spend them all. I think is kind of the thing between cruel intent, state enemies equipped, turn start, blind ×2. If you're blind, you have more of a crit chance. Okay, well that's interesting. Put that on a leper as he's just blindly hacking around.
The road calls once more to
so
its
that
dark
expended all of our
passenger.
candles. That's kind of our interaction for now with the Altar of Hope. So now that we have those candles invested, now we're about to jump in, start our run. But before I forget, I'm going to open up some trinket assigning here, if they're useful. Gain 1 hit, 15% chance for blight. But if I have a noxious item, blight by chance, I don't have that right now. So actually not going to use any of those. We're going to let those sit for now. We'll just cruise right along. You can see we have a torch here on the back of the carriage. You may remember that as a mechanic from DB1 if you've played it at all. As we continue to roll down our journey, that will drain, as you can see, and so we get worse and worse debuffs for letting that continually drain. Like you can see that 20% negative banter, which ties into the relationship system. We'll get to it here in a second. The Desperate Few. So this is like a little side road. Like you'll hit these nodes. You can interact with these little side nodes on the side of the road here. This is pretty cool the way this works out, although it is a little bit of a controversial system. I think they do have the most tweaking still to do for this. It talks about how the relationship system, let's open up that up. So as we go along, we're going to have all of our characters interacting with each other for better or for worse, and that can have actually a pretty dramatic way of how our run goes. For example, if you have 2 characters that just, absolutely hate each other, maybe one will refuse to heal another. If they become perhaps inseparable, which can be, is a good thing, they want to protect and give free heals as kind of a reward of that positive relationship. Where some of the controversy in the community comes from is that some of the interactions that you would think would be just positive coming from a positive relationship can lead to low health, on death's door, bleeding character absorbing a hit for their much healthier, tankier teammate. They're like, no, I won't let you get hit, I love you so much. And then they're getting damage sponged for something they have no business eating, and then they die, and it kills your run because you didn't necessarily have a whole lot of hands-on control of that supposedly positive relationship. So they are still tweaking the relationships. That still does have a lot of rework to come out, so it is by no means a set in stone thing at the moment, and you'll kind of see as we go along how more of an impact that has. The only reason I bring that up now, in these kinds of interactions, your four characters will have different opinions on how they want things to go. Like perhaps, you know, this guy, Barristan, Man-at-Arms, might want to help him out. Highwayman might be more of the opinion, let's rob him, let's leave him. We don't need to expend our time here. So the conflicting opinions and desires of your teammates, you know, as you make these choices, will have an impact on the relationship status. So it doesn't matter super early on, just in the fact that since they all agree, they always agree at this very first interaction. No matter what I select, these three characters here will get a positive relationship hit. And what I mean by that is just one of these little diamond kind of icons here. So as you accrue these little positive or the other way negative relationship pips, that will change their overall relationship status here. So in this interaction, these three are going to go in the positive way, and our Plague Doctor is not going to have any, you know, she's going to stay neutral, no influence anyway. So looking at our rewards, we have a chance for a trinket, food, or food. I'm going to go with the trinket chance, of course.
An inkling of potency still lingers in some of these well-worn relics.
Way more. That's not too bad. Death blow resist, but less debuff resistance. You know, I think I will take that. And then that is a good item to throw onto my Man-at-Arms here, I think. That is a good one. We'll just throw that on there for him for now. And we'll keep on rolling. So that gave us a boost to our light whenever you help help and spew the dirty, unwashed masses on the side of the road. When you help them out, you do get a boost to your torchlight. So that's a way you can kind of keep your light level from dissipating to an extremely low amount as you go. So there's our little, got two gold there, got that for free, which is kind of nice. So here's that Hoarder, the Valley Hoarder. We got an upgrade that gives us a little bit of a better return from this guy. We'll see what we mean. Pretty familiar face, I gotta say. If you remember the caretaker from DD1, he's here too. So he is kind of like your last stop convenience store before you actually venture out into the real run. This whole little valley is just like your precursory introductory area, and he's like your last stop before you move on. So let's just see if there's anything we want here. These are some of those combat items I mentioned. All sorts of cool things. You can actually add more flame on the fly if you need to boost your overall flame level. That's a good way to do it. Clear corpses, cure blight. It gives you a little small health boost for clearing that blight, excuse me. All the way down to in items. You know, whiskey flask, get a little bit tipsy with that lean, and reduce some stress that way, which is always nice. Have some calming incense, which is cool. Beat a drum, I guess, for less move resistance. You know, like you do on a Saturday. And then all sorts of stuff. These kind of influence your stagecoach, your different stagecoach upgrades. I don't know that I'm going to spend a whole lot on too much of this stuff besides some of our combat items. I definitely want the light. We'll do at least 3 of those. I don't really care for the chalk powder. I do like to have the option for corpse clear, and then we will take some medicinal herbs since they are an across the board, fixes all your ailments kind of an issue. So we'll call that good on our expenditures there. Let's assign some of those combat items before I forget, because I've never done that before. And then you can have the corpse dust. Cool. Alright, off we go. Keep it right on a rolling here. Get through some of these piles. Got nothing for it, nothing to show.
You see, even your valley is not immune.
Last little
to the
fight here at the end of the
spreading
valley. we just got to take a moment and just, can we just look at these animations? Can we just look at how gorgeous this is? It's just amazing. The same kind of, 4v4 kind of scheme for the battles, but just all hyped up in the new graphics. I love it. I love it. I'm all about it. So anyway, a little bit of a similar but slightly different system that they have going on here with the combat. Token system is in place. We've got a little example of that right here. You can see block token for our man-at-arms here. So he will, like for sure, not a chance, he will take 50% less damage from the next hit that takes him. And as you can see, this little diamond down here indicates that it's stacked twice. So he will take 50% less damage from the next 2 physical attacks that hit him. So that's nice to have, and all sorts of different tokens will apply. If you go with G on your keyboard here, it gives you an index for all those different things. It gets a little complicated, and it can be a little bit cluttered, but once you start to pick up all the different icons and what they mean and all that jazz, it starts to flow a little bit better. And I do very much enjoy what they've done with the combat systems and how it all interacts with one another. I think it's a good time. So we'll just waste not a lot more time. We'll jump right in. These guys are kind of just bottom of the barrel cannon fodder. They're nothing to get too excited about. Just smash them down. We'll just
Early results
fire
are
here.
encouraging.
And then you are going to poison him. You see, you got that lovely riposte. That's why we do that. That Duelist Advance gives you that riposte token right away. That damage reduction, as you can see. Now Horror is kicking in. That is 1 stress, 50% chance for 1 stress for 2 turns, which is obviously not ideal, but we can survive. I guess this can reach her from back here. We'll let her feel crush. Can we just look at these different animations? Some little quirk I've noticed. I love it. Each one, or most of the different ones, have got like a slightly different animation for the different moves. Some of them kind of repeat, as you can see. That's just, like, how badass is that? That's just awesome. Anyway. That's that. Alright, similar story here, except I can't really reach her all that well. I'm not going to burn our corpse dust right now. So I guess we'll just drop this, try and get that out of the way. And then, yes, let's throw a dagger. Just trying to take her down. She's just the last thing in our way. Or hitting us, and we got the death blow. Okay,
Messy, but effective.
It worked out. No big deal. Alright, so here's mastery points. We got those. You usually get those finishing the battle that leads you out of the valley. We'll talk about those here in a second. Got some other loot. Let's grab all that good stuff. We do need to swap up the...
Are you shaken? There is so much worse in store.
So much worse in store. Yeah, I'm not afraid. We need to change up these skills that we have unlocked for our Plague Doctor. I've got some different things unlocked for her, which are going to be way more useful. Not Answer Prevention. That thing is garbage. Give me Plague Grenade. Give me Indiscriminate Science. And give me Emboldening Vapors. Forgot to swap these over. You can swap these around pretty much anytime you're not in combat, so you are able to do that, but I just forgot to do so before we left. So just swapping her slightly a little bit more towards like a ranged, focusing on the Blight Grenades and a little bit of a damage boost here, obviously keeping her basic heal. A little bit different the way this works compared to Darkest Dungeon 1. It's not just a free heal that you get to apply whenever. Your target has to be below 50% health for them then to gain, as you can see, the 20% heal there. So you can't just throw it on anybody, but it's there for you as like a last save maneuver. Another heal for her that I've just now unlocked through another Hero Shrine is Indiscriminate Science. Kind of an interesting way this works. So it's I think guaranteed to just give you 10% health back for every positive token. So that could be a dodge token, that could be a block token, that could be a riposte token, anything that's like a little gold colored token they would consider to be positive for your character. For every one of those you get 10% health back when she uses this on you. Downside being it removes all of those tokens then, so they're all gone. Consumes all your positive tokens for a big massive 45-point heal. So that can be useful. It also does have a cooldown of 1, so you can only use it, once every other turn at the most, and your target also does have to be below 50% health. So she is by no means the most dedicated on-site healer in the game. Not really a whole lot of that going on in this party, but we will survive. So let's keep it on going here. As you can see, we've got a little bit of a counter here. It measures your leagues to the next inn, as well as what region you're in. We're getting our very first inn right now. This is that little intermediary, sort of a camping corollary, like I had mentioned.
Rest tonight, under the mountain's unblinking gaze.
Every inn you have, every inn you reach has a slightly different buff. This very first one, Torch and Crown, you heal to 50% when you get here, and you lose 1 stress, so that's very nice. Continue on forward. Just look at the overall just malaise, just the misery level going on here. And I love the little details, the ambiance in the fire, the knife stuck right on the table here is cool. If you hover, oh, the game's kind of freaking out on me just a little bit. Maybe if we
The
open up
means
Steam,
of
it's a little
mastery.
better. This menu is kind of having a hard time. We're supposed to be able to kind of... Oh no, I'm doing it wrong. Yeah, if you hover a usable item over them, they kind of perk up like, what? You got something for me? So over on the right here, you can see the inn items. These are some of those things I mentioned before. This is where you'd use these inn items. On no other time, can't use them on the road. For example, more blight resistance all the way until the next inn. So that's a pretty considerable buff. I'm just going to go ahead and throw that on our plague doctor, reduce any worry that she might have to worry about plaguing her own self. Slime mold, interesting in that you can get 10% more health until the next end. You have a small chance of getting a quirk though, which may not be a good or a bad thing. This is like a really nasty food that you can find, a food item. Food items you will find on the road and use here at the inn to boost your health. You can actually heal when you get to the inn. You aren't guaranteed to just 100% full heal at the inn, but you can use food items to boost that a little bit. So that's kind of nice. I'm going to throw that on our man-at-arms here. Need that nice 46 health. So we're out of inn items, obviously, of course. You can, you can do at the provision
Conventional fare.
store. Again,
But
you can buy
fairly
more inn
priced.
items. Let's see if there's anything we really need too much of. I don't think we need that. Not really too bad on stress right now. I'm not going to worry about any of that, but I am going to get some more combat items. We've got a nice thunderclap grenade, shuffles the enemy party here. We've got combat item of a bear trap. It doesn't do any damage itself, but it does do 3 points a round of bleed damage to an enemy and roots them to the spot. So we're going to get one of those just for safe measure. So that'll do it there. When you are at the inn following this Altar of Hope update, you can choose to end your expedition, and that's at any inn. So like let's say you don't have a whole lot of confidence in your run, you're not going to be able to take the party you have all the way to the mountain, complete that final boss, get him taken down. You can, when you're at an inn, decide, okay, that's it, I'm done with this run, I'm going to cash it in and collect the hope. You're hoping all the candles that you have accrued, as your run has been going, and you leave with all of them. The flip side of that coin being, if you decide, no, I'm going to keep going, I'm going to forge ahead, and if you die before you get to the next inn, you take a severe hit to how many candles you can take back. You don't lose everything, but you lose a good, 3/4, I want to say, at least, of your candles that you have. So obviously those being the currency that fuels your permanent meta upgrades for your account is not ideal to lose those. So sometimes it's wise to cash in your account, sometimes it's wise to do shorter runs to accrue more candles early on so that you can then unlock more characters, more trinkets, more stuff for your account, which will then help boost your overall success rate in taking on the final boss. So it's kind of cool how all that kind of ties together a little bit in the long scheme of things. Kind of gives it a little bit more of that roguelike kind of a feel as you're doing these different runs, but you are still kind of building slowly but surely some sense of permanent kind of progression there, which is nice. Next little option, as you can see here, we have the Mastery Trainer. Really cool that mechanic that we have. You may have noticed as we finished that last battle in the valley, we got Mastery Points. We have 2 of those, as you can see here. Those are a way we can even further boost any move we so choose of any character we have. And so we've got the basic version of the move up above, and then the upgraded version down below. So for example here, it's boosting our damage from possible of 4 to 7. Now we're going to 6 to 8, so a little bit of a damage boost there. And when a target has a combo token, which is a token that can be applied from various different sources, kind of helps your characters or enemies actually work together with their moves, you get different effects. So this effect just so happens to be a nice crisp 10 or 20% heal for your Man-at-Arms if the target you hit with Crush while it's upgraded has that combo token on it. So just some different things you can get. They are a little bit, some of them are a little bit convoluted to understand what you're looking at, but you know, kind of makes sense as we start to pick up on these tokens. This is a Daze, you know, Daze knock back a little bit here with Rampart. Defender has been a pretty good one to have in the past, runs here for me. This gives you a nice boost to yourself, 2 blocks to yourself, and blocks the teammate of your choice for 2 rounds. The upgraded version then, taking that normal block, which is a 50% damage reduction, it takes it to a greater block times 2, which is a 75% damage reduction, very significant. And then the block for your teammate lasts for 3 rounds, so that's also super advantageous. Bolster, this is probably the best early game, or at least the access that I have to at the moment. Stress heal as you go about. The Jester character will be way better for that, but I don't have him unlocked at the moment, obviously. So stress healing is still just as important as in DD1. We are no longer dealing with a 100 number. You know, you could get all the way up to 100, have a heart attack, etc. No longer the case in Darkest Dungeon 2. Max stress is 10. You still will hit, if you hit 10 stress, your character has a little meltdown, a little freak out, and it totally ruins all the relationships. So if you have good positive relationships, if they hit 10 stress, they have a little freak out meltdown, they need to have a little popsicle in the corner and calm down, and they lose all their good relationships. So that's not ideal, obviously. So having some stress heal on the way, on your journey, can be a good thing to have. Just because I am kind of keen to do our new, I don't think I actually changed my paths. I think I forgot to do that. So never mind, we're not going to do that. We're going to do, I think I kind of enjoy the Noxious. No, I don't think so. No, I don't think that's smart. I need more damage. I need some more damage. We're going to go with Point Blank Shot, 1. And I think I am going to do the upgraded bolster for that higher, goes from 1 to 2 now, stress heal. Again, like the health heal, target receiving the stress heal does have to be at a minimum of 5 stress before you can even use this and get them any less stressed. So there is that to keep in mind. Let's pop back over to Dismas, because I'm noticing I also am missing a skill for him, so I am not paying attention. Which one do I want to give up? I think Take Aim I can get rid of for the sake of Point Blank Shot. Point Blank Shot, wonderful moves to have. As you can see, it's kind of similar to the way it will function in Darkest Dungeon 1. It's a first rank, you know, blast enemy first rank for pretty significant damage, pretty good crit chance, and it does apply a combo token, guaranteed. So that's a nice way to mark that frontliner with a option to do something else with somebody else a little bit later on. So this plays real well with the Duelist Advance, which is the lunge forward and then activate riposts kind of skill. So my plan that I'm going to be kind of moving forward on here with the boosted, let's see. Nope, let's close this. Booster bolster is going to help us with stress. We're going to do a little bit more damage with the Point Blank Shot. I think that's pretty much tying up what's going to keep us at this inn. We're going to go ahead and go to select
the provinces
route
and
now.
cantrevs of our land, crumbling and undone.
Just can't bring myself to interrupt Wayne June. It's got to hear that lovely Wayne June voice. As you move on from the inn, you get the choice of different areas to go to. So these are completely different, 3 different options we could go. The Shroud, the Tangle, the Sluice. These are all different flavors of environments, flavors of enemies, flavors of dangers to watch out for, and a little bit of different bonuses for entering these different areas and completing these different challenges. So for example, the Shroud is a very coastal, very gross, and what's the word I'm looking for? Tentacle, sea monster-y kind of area. It's got a little quirk for this run, boosted hoarder location scouting, so you'll see where those hoarders are more, and there are just more of them, 200% more hoarders, so you might have more items here. The little optional, these are not required by any means, but the little optional side quest you could choose to complete is win 3 resistance encounter battles, and for doing so you'll get 3 candles. So again, don't have to do that, but that's a little thing you can strive for. Over here, the Tangle, dark and dreary, rainy forest of misery and doom. You get worse flame drain here, or no, is that better flame drain? Maybe that is meaning to indicate better flame drain. I'm not sure. I think it means worse plus %. I'm not going to think about it too much. With the goal of visiting a creature den, that's an optional little enemy quest that I don't think I will be taking on. The sluice is as you can see, not really much of a side quest there, but this is a very dangerous, very risky, but also very high reward underground channel that you can choose to enter. Kind of operates on a lot of pig enemies. If you remember the Warrens from Darkest Dungeon 1, a lot of Warren-centric enemies in the sluice. I think I'm going to be avoiding that. And I think what I'm going to be doing here... 3 resistance encounter battles for 3 currencies. Hell, let's try it. Let's
The
do the
shrouded
Shroud.
coast, isolated and drowning in amphibious degeneracy.
I love it. Alright, let's hit it. So this is going to be our first real zone. I know it's taken us like forever to get here, but just I wanted to have kind of a basic understanding of some of the inventories and systems and things that we're looking at and operating with. So, Shroud, as you can see, this horrible,
Propriety
nasty
floats
mess.
listless on the tide, brined in noxious degradation.
Alright, so anyone who's played totally flew out of my mind right now, the Slay the Spire. This map will seem very familiar. This is a node map. Up you see we're starting here. We're going to work our way down paths, choosing paths left, right, or otherwise that bring us to these different nodes as we go along. We got really lucky with the scouting chance in that we know what most of these are. That doesn't happen every time. A lot of the time there'll be mysteries. You have no idea what they are. And so all sorts of different things. We've got resistance encounters. These are battles that you will go through. We've got hoarders, things that you can interact, shops, lairs. These will be bosses, mini bosses that are flavored specifically to the region that you're in. As you can see by the little yellow text there, very high risk and very high reward. Interesting little mechanic at play. It is mandatory that you encounter, fight, and defeat a lair boss, one of these little bosses in a route somewhere, in one of the regions somewhere. And, you know, shackle his trophy, shackle his severed head after you've beaten him to the back of your carriage before you can even attempt the final boss. It is a requirement to have that done. So you have to have one of the lair bosses defeated before you can even attempt the final boss, which is an interesting thing. So won't be doing that right now. I don't think I've got quite the party strength to be taking him on, so we're going to be dodging that. Watchtower's not all that useful right now. That would reveal more of our map. We already have most of our map revealed. If you're asking yourself why some of these lines are blue and broken, why some of these lines are green and solid lines are safe. You will not be ambushed on the road while you're traveling these routes, which is nice. Whereas the blue and broken lines, you will encounter a road battle here, which is road battles, just a smaller little encounter than you might encounter at a node, but it's still something, kind of a nuisance to be in your way, a roadblock if you will. You can see some of the nodes you'll get extra candle rewards for going to, like this resistance encounter gives you a bit of a candle boost for going there, so that might be something to keep in mind. All culminating at the very end of the region with Oblivion's Rampart. You have to fight cultists, fairly strong, eldritch kind of enemies at the end before you reach the next inn, and then therefore the next leg of the battle. So we'll be moving on here momentarily. Only other thing to mention is Loathing. We have that up in this upper left corner. Right now we're at the Loathing Whispers. This is a mechanic in play to, I think, deter people from just completely ignoring. I'm going to be super safe. I'm going to ignore every battle. I'm not going to take any fight. I'm just going to coast through the zone and not fight anything. The less battles you take, the more and more this will build, especially when you hit the next inn. And when you have a really high maximum loathing, you start to fight more and more difficult enemies. You have harder debuffs that come in against your team. So it's kind of a way where you sort of do have to interact with some of these resistance encounters and these kind of tougher battles in order to keep that loathing to a minimum and not just coast on your butt through the entire zone, being ultra pacifist. As you can see, little pop-ups down here, another little mechanic. Your folks will have thoughts on where they'd like to go. They say, everyone here, I'm glad they agree, says, yeah, we want to go to the resistance
Lamentably,
encounter. If
there
you
is
go
no other
against
choice.
their wishes, that is 1 pip of stress. They get stressed because you didn't listen to them because they're kind of petulant children. Another thing you may notice as we're going along here, sometimes there's little chatter, sometimes there's little barks that appear. They will talk, they'll yell at each other. Yeah, that's the wishing nightmare. He's freaking out, he doesn't like it, he's getting some stress. They can lose, oh, I've had worse company, yeah, so boom, they just had a positive relationship there. They're chatting, they're having a great time, getting a positive relationship and being in a carriage, so. Those things can be good or bad. You do have to kind of manage the relationships in sort of a careful way, not to let everything melt down, but we'll be doctoring that along as we go. So our Sunken Monolith is our first resistance encounter. As you can see, as I mentioned earlier, we do have some differing opinions on what we would like to do here. Everybody is of the opinion that we want to fight. I'm not sure why. Oh no, yeah, they're all in agreement. Okay. Except for a weird blue one there. I'm not sure understanding that. The outline, you can maybe see the faint little outline over our Plague Doctor, for example. Right now it's got that bold little glow coming off the character, and then the Grave Robber has the little blue, little glow. That's just to indicate the differing of opinions. I'm not really sure that the tooltip is correct because both of these characters want to fight, but otherwise, like let's say if she wanted to bail, if she wanted to leave, let's not fight this, and you choose to actually fight it, then going against her wishes will deteriorate the relationships of the folks who did want to fight. So, just how it would work in the real world. If you're bickering with your brother on a road trip and they don't want to agree, I guess things can fall apart in a hurry. So we're going to go ahead and go with this choice, only for the sake of, as you can see, if you hold Alt, it gives you a little bit more of a detailed breakdown on what you are taking as you accept this battle. So we're going into fight here, but the enemy has a vulnerable debuff, or we have speed and strength on our team, or they're vulnerable. Again, I kind of like the buffs for our team. We're going to take that. Jumping right on in, not too bad. 3 enemies, not the end of the world here. These guys are kind of an annoyance in that they will spawn into a full-size dude, and it refreshes their health if you leave them alone for too long, these cabin boys. So we're going to have to just try to focus one down and really get an extreme numbers advantage here in a hurry. Do I want to do Wicked Slice to begin with? Try to get a little bit more damage right off the get-go. You can see our action here in the top right. This just describes who in what order do characters go. So this is going to go first. Audrey's going to be following up. Plague Doctor to finish it out for these before our second row 2 Captain Boy acts. So that may guide who we decide to attack here. In fact, I think it will. We're going to do this advance, get a little damage, get both speed, because this was one of the little bonuses that we chose for accepting this battle, as well as the riposte. So those are the tokens we've got going there. Shifting our fight on over to Audrey here. See these animations. Seeing that it's pickaxe, throw a dagger, throw 2 daggers. That's pretty slick. Not a lot of damage to be had from that move. Got your poison darts, of course, which is great. Or a little self-heal, but it's only useful when she's sub 25%, so extremely situational. I think in this case, we are going to just go with, what are we looking at for blight resistance? Blight resistance is not super high. Overall health of 7. Could go right to vote for a crit. I think let's do that. No, I didn't finish that one. What I can do then, I suppose, is Rachel will do Noxious Blast. Finish the deal there. Now we've got a 2-to-1 numbers advantage. Peachy Keen. So they are adding dodge as well as block plus tokens. So He's going to be a pain in the ass to even hit, and then when you hit him, you don't do very much damage for the first hit that makes contact. So, that being the case, I think I'm going to leave this placement alone because I want Dismas to do his point-blank shot next. We're going to leave him stationary then and take a swing. Miss, that's
Haste
okay.
and
Just
carelessness.
by way of us missing,
All
we
marks
cleared
of
that
the
dodge.
unprepared.
So, that's got that out of the way. We are going to hit him with the point blank. Can you just look at this animation? This one right here is probably my favorite one. Just the little menacing jaw black little flick. Bam. So knocks him back, applies that combo token. Didn't do a whole lot of damage, but at least we've cleared that block, which is nice. So now that we have a combo token, one of the ways that the Grave Robber really comes into play, she's got some really nice interactions with those combo tokens, especially doing more critical damage. As you can see, this was a 50% boost for crit chance when you're hitting a target with a combo token. Unfortunately, I actually can hit it. I can totally reach that. Now, that's only, is that better than this? Throwing knife. Better crit chance on the throw knife, but worse damage overall. I think we are going to stick with the pick. That 11 crit. We hit it. Love it. For the 11 damage combo token involvement. Love to see it. We're going to try for a poison here. They dodged it. That's okay. That clears that token at least. Let's see. What can we do? Let's just smash him. It's not going to matter much what we do here. Fight's pretty much over.
This is no time to falter.
Diphtheria? What in the world? Distress? Damaged. 1 damage or 2 damage. Oh, cool. Okay, so that's only super horrible. That's all. It's only really bad. Okay. And then barnacles. These are something that I think the sea folk can afflict onto you if you move. They accrue 1 bleeding, which we don't want, so we're going to stay put as much as we can. Not that it's going to really matter. He gets this boost for spawning from his little baby mode. He gets more damage for speed. It's just a giant pain in the ass all around. Probably get the knockback. Oh, you fool. Right in point blank range. He ought not to know what he has wrought. Oh, there's like a misting. I see. I bet you that is its own kind of mechanic that I'm just not aware of, because that's like the second or third time that that's come up and they've made
An opportunity.
a deal out of it. Oh, blindness. They had it. That blindness token is prepping on this. I didn't notice. 50% chance to move, miss your next attack, which sucks. And then vulnerable, 50% extra damage from your next hit. So that's obviously less than ideal. We're gonna try. Got it.
Messy.
Got it.
But effective.
Cool. Clear that. Mastery point for that. For real? Oh, for me, you shouldn't have. I'll take it. We've got relics, we've got baubles, and we've got corpse powder. Baubles, I'll show you here. I don't think I talked about
The
that
loathing
before.
festers.
Open up our inventory. 3 different types of currency. Obviously, we've got relics. These are your basic currency. Buy combat items. Buys most things out of the shop. Your mastery points, invest in better versions of your skills, and then baubles are specific currency for buying trinkets. So if you're at a hoarder or someplace that has these trinkets for sale, you can buy them there. What conditions are we looking at? More blight resist, okay. Cannot believe we got diphtheria. That's just absurd. I just refuse to believe it. I'm not a fan of that at all. If we can, actually we might want to think about that, because that's a really, really nasty one. There is a hospital. It's on the right side, late of the run, right side. So if I go this next mystery, I'm not really feeling the lair. We did reduce our loathing just by taking that previous battle on. So if we go to the unknown, and then hoarder, next unknown, treasure chest. So basically just hit this next left node and then we'll go from there. Let's see, we've got some discrepancy here. As you can see, Dismas wants to go to the lair. We're not going to be doing that, so we're going to piss him off with this choice, but he'll get over it.
A sanctum of tranquility awaits.
Trying to run over those things in the road that this thing handles like a shit brick house. Or a brick shit house, or whatever the phrase is. Ah, an oasis. Nice. Nice. So this is a cool, nice little node to have. I added these fairly recently. These are just a nice little stress heal, little respite for your characters. You can do slightly different things with it. Wow, I can't believe she doesn't want... She's like, oh, let's just bounce. You're the one who almost needs it the most. These two want to leave. Let's see. What have we got here? We've got stress heal and more flame. Well, of course we're going to take that for him. I wonder if that affected our relationship status. Let's check that out. Oh yeah, they are not a fan. not a fan. I gotta keep that in mind. No more bad interactions between Plague Doctor and Highwayman, because if we get much more here, things are gonna start falling apart. Once they actually have a confirmed bad interaction, it kind of sucks. Like I'd mentioned, that is kind of a controversial system. A lot of folks are all up in arms about how intrusive the relationships are, and they feel like they're a little bit heavy-handed. They have way too much impact on how you have to guide your run. And some of that is true, some of it's over-dramatic, I think, but the rework, Redbook is working on a rework for the relationship system, so rest assured we have something coming our way. Cruising right along, we're going to hit a road battle, being that this is one of those broken blue roads. We do not have safety on this road. Super easy, nothing to get concerned about right here. Just gonna smash it with a light. Oh, resistant, okay. Doesn't have much of an option to me. Really annoying these guys are back is that small boss. Are you serious? 20% health, max health loss. Oh, a small chance to either go forward or backwards. Cool, so we're dancing for no reason. And 15% chance to be dazed. Yeah, I need that damn hospital for sure. I'm glad we're already en route. That's annoying. These guys are slightly annoying in that their basic attack chomp adds stress, so one stress just for getting attacked, which is kind of a nuisance. Stacking up that blight. Not my favorite thing in the world. I wonder honestly if I want to. It's not insignificant. I want to heal that actually. Chop through some of these guys. We'll do that. Clear that blight.
Straightforward and effective.
Just choking him down. Some little quirk you may notice that's counter here. This occurs on road battles. So road battles have the extra pressure in that if you do not finish the battle by the end of the round 5, it just ends. It's just just over. You don't get any rewards for the fight. Road battles don't really give you a whole lot of rewards anyway. They're really more just kind of a nuisance, an obstacle for you to have to slog through. But if you really can't get it done in 5 rounds, then you get that extra little punch in the face. A nice little boost in the relationship there. I'll take it. Somebody better than like somebody. Got some oregano. Now we can make some spaghetti. Alright, here's our hoarder. What kind of stuff you got for me? Let's look at trinkets. Here I have 36 baubles. More healing from skills, less move resistance. Just pure damage, but makes you way slow. It's not bad, but more poison or disease resistance, more debuff resist. It's not that great. What is this? Can't afford it. Annotated textbook. Oh, for first and random move, you get weakened, which is not great, but more crit chance. Ooh, and 50% boost to healing given if you have medicinal herbs. I can't afford this, but that would be nice for a healing blend. Clasp knife. Weapon serrated. 25% bleed chance boost. Cool. Oh, I love the pristine lure. I've had that on my previous run. It was very helpful. Can't afford it now. More healing given, but less damage. It's kind of tempting for the grave robber, or I mean play doctor actually. A little bit tempting, but it's only 10%. That can't be all that helpful. I think what I'd rather do, honestly, I really am a big fan of going in on the tank man-at-arms. Got more death blow resistance, more stress resistance, and then we're getting more healing, so he can be an absolute monster of an anchor damage sponge for us. Do I want any combat items? I have most of those already. Ceremonial drums. 5% chance to have a greater block around start, not that enticing. And calming incense could be good. I'm gonna invest in that. Don't know what our stress is gonna look like by the end. And some stagecoach things could be nice. These are kind of cool. Leaf suspension, so you get a 10% more positive banter, so it can help influence your relationships in a positive way, just by way of stagecoach upgrade here, which is cool. But I am going to take more storage trunk.
Anything that lets us
Need more
travel
storage.
further is worth the cost.
You like the way we do business at more storage sales. Sorry, that doesn't mean anything to anybody. Anyway. Get out of my face. I've spent all my money. It's probably not smart. Probably needed some of that for the hospital. I just forgot about the hospital.
An elementary
meant to do
problem.
that. I'm
Is it
a
not?
financial, economical genius. It'll all work out, I'm sure.
Echoes of humanity, twisted by hopelessness.
We'll get there. Gotta get this asshole. Gotta get to this little shit right here. Use that. Douchebag. 3 to 6 damage, 10% crit chance. I don't know, I kind of need to post up. Because he's gonna go invisible anyway. Here he goes. Swoop back. I've got Plague Doctor with that Plague Grenade. Doesn't matter if I can't see you if I've got AoE. Because the both of you, you're the one that wanted anyway, so I'll take it. 7, get a hit on 4 somehow. That could do it. Could do it with the light. I can't target him. Can't do it, right? Because he's still not targeted directly, which is super annoying. Flame is not too bad. 69 flame, I can sit on that. Shit. Okay, well, I guess beyond that, to start this right here. Yeah, lost that one too. Fight post right away. Give us that stress, which is a lot of mana. Let's think about this. Or I could do point blank with Highwayman if I leave this person alone. Just keep him alone with that little head start on damage with the post there. Alright, let's just spread the damage all around. Just like a nice fruit puree. Spread it around on everything. 4 stress. Can't quite use that bolster stress here, but heal, but we're getting there. Guess we'll just chop you down, what you're done with.
A promising
Massive overkill,
development.
but that's super annoying. I hate that shit. And Plague Grenade again. Nice, got both of them sitting there. Who's done? Shield's done. He's not. Not my favorite, but whatever.
The smallest variable can make all the difference.
And then you so
One less obstacle in our path.
cool. Yeah, I'll take that armor repair kit. I don't see why not. Need a sip of water here. Alright. thing I was freaking out about earlier. Hero Shrine, continue hero story. So these nodes are how you unlock more of the moves for your characters. As you can see, pretty empty page here for our Man-at-Arms is a great example. Whereas for our Grave Robber, I always do that, Plague Doctor, I've already gotten a little more of these. So these will open up more breadth of options for movesets and skills for your characters. And these are also permanent upgrades. So this is a permanent, kind of roster upgrade once you find these kind of hero shrines. And then my extra favorite part about it is it dives into the lore of the character, and it talks about some of the backstory and things that have led them to their events of Darkest Dungeon 1. Not so much really what's going on with them in Darkest Dungeon 2, but it's a really nice deep dive into the lore of each of the characters. I kind of love the way most of them are presented just from a thematic point of view. I don't know. I'm a huge nerd for them. I just think they're great. So, Shrine of Reflection. You get to pick from any one of these characters. You can do any kind of anyone you want, and there's 5 chapters in each of their characters. So, obviously, I've gotten a little bit of a head start on the Grave Robber. We're going to start fresh with a new one we have not touched at all. Let's do the Man-at-Arms.
Man-at-Arms. Chapter 1. A premature promotion.
Oh yeah, should probably hit continue. That might be boring.
The politics of a military career are perhaps as treacherous as war itself. Though untested in combat, his acumen for advancement was unmatched. Through a dubious campaign of influence and intimidation, he had at last claimed a coveted command, and was eager to bask in the glory of the victories that were sure to come.
As you can see, alternate model here. This is Once Upon a Time Man-at-Arms, him back in the past. As you can see, we're without eye patch at this point. We're still intact on both eyes, so that's interesting. Kind of cool the way this works, as you saw right there. That was a lore dump, just a little lore dump, talked about him. Then next time we find a hero shrine and interact with it, move on to chapter 2 for the Man-at-Arms. It'll be like a little mission. You'll have like this little combat engagement kind of a thing, ties in with like how normal combat in the actual game is, but you have to go through these little mini missions on every other hero shrine for each character, just to help unlock those moves. So anyway, as a result of this one, we've gotten 1 mastery point, which is great, and then Bellow, which can be used from any position, hits the entire enemy team, has a 1-round cooldown. It removes riposte entirely, which can be nice. I don't think there's been a whole lot that actually has riposte that I've seen so far. Maybe some of the exemplars, some of the cultist guys, so that could be good for clearing that, and makes everybody slow. So that's not terrible, but not super impressive. Maybe the upgraded version would be more worth it, but not really seeing a whole lot
Desperate
of
to
point
survive the rising tides, the fisherfolk of the coastal provinces resorted to a debased worship of the sea.
Oh, slime mold. Everyone loves their moldy bread plates. Alright, another road encounter here. Ooh, yuck. Not ideal. We have move disadvantage dogs going first, and they're super fast and they dodge. Guarding here, as you can see, there's that riposte. I was just talking shit. If I had it, I could fix this problem. No question there. Okay, so what are we at here? Let's do Glimmer of Hope. That lamplight level. So pretty low there. I've not found any of those help the poor encounters yet, so it's kind of like we're lagging behind in the light there. We are high enough to do a stress heal on her once we hit the Man-at-Arms turn, so we will keep that in mind. For now, these guys are both fast. They both have pretty consistent dodge. I don't want to be walking right into a post. He is guarded, so I'm going to go in on just damage. We're just going to smash down this first guy. We're going to try. He goes next. Obviously, we're not going to beat him before his turn. He does this move, which applies a bleed and usually a combo token, which is annoying. Because then he will follow up token, which is fine with me. Let's do some riposte of our own. Give him a little stab, get that riposte up. And then I throw a plague grenade back there, but I've got riposte I'm walking into. Let's just, like I said, focus it down. Resisted that, which is super annoying. Corner, chop. Does that grab? Yeah, he got a combo from that riposte, which is pretty slick. Pushed our guy back. Not my favorite in the world, but I will survive. We should bolster, but we're so close here. I gotta do it. I can't. We gotta get that numbers advantage. Stretch heal through later. So. 15 points of bleeding. Really super hurting. Okay. Okay, then that's gonna change. Who goes next? Front Mongol. Do move next. Be able to stun that Mongol anyway. Clear the dodge token, I guess, at least. Don't you dare bite him. Okay, take it. Guy who has the most health in the world hasn't got hit once. Okay, so I do need to heal. That's pretty much inevitable. That's helping to fix their bad relationship a little bit. Double backline hit. Don't want that. Really rolling in stress now. I gotta do it. I gotta clear a little bit of that. Let that hit 10. That's being shambles.
Steady yourself.
And don't you die. Don't you die.
Every road must end.
Open my mouth. That's not ideal. Okay, well that is gonna really harm our run. Not the absolute end of the world to lose a character in a run, but it's pretty debilitating because we will be operating from here on out on a 3-man team until if we can make it to the next game. At the next game, you are able to pull on one time you can pull on a new character that you may have if you haven't unlocked. I don't think I have any else unlocked, so I think I'm pretty much going to be stuck at a 3-man team for the remainder of this run. So not ideal, but it kind of ties into how in the roguelike, not every single run is doomed for emotions like destined for success. Sometimes you're gonna just eat it. 3 damage combo, that was pathetic. That just makes me sad. I really don't want that post, but I really want this dog dead. It's kind of pissing me off. Jesus, bro. Road battle my ass. It's a serious issue with these stupid dogs. I swear he got that two lucky crits in a row. You can see where we're hitting that timer now. I'll clean this up. And I move on for no benefit, no rewards, no reason. Probably better than this. There's hope that I can clean up that last hit. Blink up through here. We got it. What does it cost? What do it cost?
But effective.
Let's see. Disease resist, debuff resist, stun resist. What are we doing? Inventory space. Man, that sucks. That is such a death sentence, losing a character like that. Especially this early on. We're only in the first real region, to be honest. That is some super garbage. Well, I guess we'll just keep on forging. We're 26 meters away. We've got quite a while to go. Supplies for free. Gain when hit, 50% chance to bleed. If serrated item is equipped, more bleeding chance. Don't really have any bleed stuff right now with the loss of Dismas. We'll take the stress. We'll take the stress reduction. Relics. And then do the rest, because I will be running out of inventory space real soon, as I'm one item away. Nice, we got another hero shrine. I'll take it. At least that'll be a little positive boost, a nice positive step
Look
in the right
ahead.
direction for a permanent
A place to reflect, remember,
count progression.
and reconcile.
If we can manage our way through this, I hope so. It's not that bad, but it's going to stack on some pretty serious stress. In a hurry, and they all move, of course. Lovely added benefit of using most of my damage. Business being worm food.
The slow suffering begins.
Yeah, man, they are picking on her. I'm pretty sure that's by design. I'm pretty sure they know to do that. I really feel like I should defend her. Someone's got to do some damage. I'll deal with the Plague Doctor. You bastard.
And now, the greatest test of all. Dragged back
Keep
from
her
the
off
brink.
Death's Door. Weak tokens for hitting Death's Door, so definite major loss in overall damage. Nothing to think is fine. Everything is good. I got lucky with that move, so I'm going to defender her. I'll throw that up, so keep damage incoming down to a minimum. Good for another meal, but I really need to start doing something with damage. I'm not going to have that many opportunities. Positive relationship for, the blocking of damage. He appreciates that, which is cool. Let's do one of these. It'll last all that much longer, I don't think, anyway. If I make it to the hero shrine, I'll be glad. I gotta step in the right direction. And that's, just goes to show, it's very volatile. You can die at a drop of a hat. That's all it takes. Especially super early on, pretty new accounts, don't have a lot of upgrades, don't have a lot of consistent flow between a lot of my characters. No, I'm still running the same default 4 characters, the same moves or no paths, so pretty much to be expected. Just a lot of
A slow
consistent
dissection.
success super early.
An unavoidable end.
Could throw on bolster, but I don't know if that's worth it. Just 1 point of damage. For this, these flash and daggers don't usually put that to use very much, but that pushes him right into the zone of being dead. And then he moves after the Man-at-Arms. I think I will. That's really a science for more other bolts. Battlefield medicine here. Medicine. Low there. Rampart back. That's just him with me. I'm gonna make it out of this one, so that's nice. We will get our hero shrine, which is extra nice. But beyond that, I don't know if we're gonna be able to make it all the way to the next game. That remains to be seen. Oh, cool. There's some worthless herbs that I'm not even gonna grab. Thanks. Thank you. Thanks. Alright, let's keep it rolling. Hero Shrine. Alright, so now that we've seen how this kind of works, I think I want to bebop back to... No, I'll save her for later. I'll stick with the collision. Keep it consistent for now. Man-at-Arms. So his chapter 2 is as follows.
Chapter 2. A leader of men.
So this one is a mission.
Behold the conquering general, marching his men to victory.
Alright, so as you can see, a little different here. We get all these random soldier dudes to command. We have all these enemy soldiers to try to take on here. We have new attacks. These are just, you know, for this little memory of his. Attack is an order. You're ordering someone to go in an attack. Strategic retreat, make them back up. Or inspire, make others faster. So all of our guys are moving first. No need to move anyone faster. I don't really have any reason to do anything in the way of retreating, so I guess you attack. Every man for himself, yeah. Not real coordinated, as you can see, you're not picking up on the flavor here with the orders, yeah. Just picking up on why I don't sound super concerned. This is kind of a scripted loss. If you're not picking up on that, this is insurmountable odds. These guys have 13, 13, 13 health each versus 21 across the board. Let's see. Oh yeah, he gets to move. I don't know. He gets to have a little mental freak out. How you can make people have a strategic retreat. Let's try inspire. It's supposed to make others faster. Inspire them. Now that dazed them instead, everyone's dazed. Makes them go last beyond everybody. So all his orders are going wrong, everything's falling apart. Completely disproving his worth as a general. You know, ties in with his lore as a character. This general who has schemed his way into his general position, mostly through politics and mostly through smooth talk soirees and whatnot. In an actual combat lore situation, completely leading himself to, yeah, falling apart. We're losing ranks, everyone's dying, it's a great time. You, attack! Loses attack from me doing that. I don't know. To be honest, though, it would not be a fun position to be the general and have this absolute rout happen. Really not much you can do, really, but just sit and watch it play out. Definitely gives you the vibe of the helpless feeling they're trying to inspire here. And once you hit 10 stress, that's over. That's it.
A rout. A massacre. A complete and total failure of command.
Yeah, so that, in this particular case, that was a win. You actually can fail these missions. Some of them are super incredibly annoying, but this one, even though it seemed like things weren't going really well our way, this was a victory. So good. Our next mastery point and permanently have upgraded Stand Fast, which is a 2-round cooldown, but gives yourself block times 2, and at the turn start, you get an extra block. So it really helps you boost his turtle ability. I'll probably be throwing that on right now, because I've got some skills of his that I've not used like at all. Like just hold the line, move forward by 3, boost block for yourself, rooted in place. No, that's not too bad actually. Dual defender. Is that from back 3? This is from forward 3. I think I'm actually going to drop that for Stand Fast. Do want that extra bolster, of course, so yeah, I've got my combat stuff, and I think it's going to super matter, I don't think, at this point, but I'll throw that on. Alright, here's that hospital. Don't have the most confidence that we will survive this encounter. This is the Occultists. Oblivion's Rampart, the Occultist encounter, excuse me. And they're going to just grind us into dust, I think. That's going to be the end of it. Field Hospital, can't really afford to do. Actually, here maybe. Slow hand. We can't get rid of these quirks like I mentioned here at the hospital. Not that really into these. All that horrible, I guess. Health is it's okay. Let's do him. Let's do max health for him. Audrey. Could use a boost to health. Can't really use any of those things. That'll call it for the hospital here. Alright, rolling on to the good old cultist. Don't know how that's gonna go. Probably not well. Guys, like I had said, cultists, super dangerous, super deadly. I don't think we're gonna make it, to be honest. Don't have the most confidence that it's gonna work, but hey, you know, we can try. Okay, so as you can see, we've got all sorts of health boosts coming back to them here. They're gonna be pretty insurmountable to take down. I'm pretty much convinced that they're gonna run in. Although a nice smooth 11 crit will help. Won't even bother with that. I guess let's hit him with that. Combat cleared his dodge, which is a nice little thing you can do. So combat thing cleared his dodge. We've got bleeding negating his healing. I guess let's go in on the damage here. Maybe if we can at least even things out. On diphtheria, he just lost his action because of diphtheria. That's awesome. Super helpful. He should die. Oh no. Some I forgot to talk about. Some enemies now have Death Store resistance. I'll show you once we get the chance when they're done doing their actions. These two, I think, in particular, do have Death Store resistance. So, in Darkest Dungeon 1, you may remember the heroes had Darkest Dungeon, or had Death Store resistance only. But monsters can now as well. The more serious, big, scary ones. So, you're pretty much, I think you will always have to hit them down to Death Store and then follow up with a finishing blow. And sometimes it can be such a major pain in the ass trying to clear that Death Door, especially if it's a really, really stalwart boss. Some of the bosses are super tough and hard to take down, which can be a pain in the ass. So hopefully that DOT is enough to take him down. We're going to start doing some DOT here. Just about to lose our minus stress on him, so we're going to hit that bolster, drop that down, get a block out of it, which is not the end of the world. Let's try for, let's do our lantern, just to be a little bit more well lit there. Let's try poison. She dodged it, that's okay. Clear that token.
Steady yourself.
So, numbers are now even. Got some DOT there. I'm just gonna start blink grenade with these two. Yeah, kind of need to just get some damage. Just a little bit. I believe we're very ouch. We're gonna stack up in a big double stack of, well, I guess not double stack, this is refresh, regen. Here's our meltdown. We're not managed to survive. Total loss of all relationship status positive, so things are not going well in his realm. He's about dead. Should heal him. Don't know that it's gonna really matter at this point. 4, 3, 4. Yes, here. Yeah, he's at death's door. He is now weakened. Let's just try to stack it up. Do I want to hit him with this? Do I want to go more damage? It's not going to matter. I think maybe we should.
Dragged back from the brink.
Can't target him directly, but with the area of effect we can. Really want this one dead. He's the more dangerous for health, so I think getting him dead would be very helpful. Oh, he's actually, well, no, at death's door, he's not dead for sure. So I hit him down to 0, pop that death's door, now maybe DOT can do his job. There it goes. Okay, so he's toast. This guy, I know the altar unfortunately explodes if you leave him alone for too long, so he is going to be a problem. Got this bolster here. That damage me. That's not ideal. Yeah, we gotta pour out death's door, even though that's a waste of a turn. Able to move, that sucks. There. Stress there, I think. I'll take it. That's not a big deal. Alright, let's go in immediately on the damage here. Kind of light resist 30. It's not insignificant. It's only 2 blight anyway. Let's just do damage. Let's just do damage all day. Like cool. Oh, maybe with that. That's enough. So he's dead. Now, I'm surprised we may actually just barely keep our way through this. By the skin of our teeth teeth. Now I can smash him with my pickaxe. 5 more damage in here. Only 3. Oh, yes. Love it. Love it. I did not think we would make it through that fight. I have not. My hopes were not high.
Abandoned or
There's
forgotten.
More fling.
It is
a master
ours now.
point, a whole bunch of extra stuff. Not a whole lot of this is going to matter anymore, because I don't think we're going to be able to make it
The
past this
loathing
next inn.
abates.
Oh, we're full on stuff. Let's drop some mold. Let's drop some of that. Continue on. Cool, so that was the Shroud. Made it way through that eldritch, soupy, nasty nightmare. Gonna hit this next inn, and I think it would be wise, given the state of our party, the state of our stress, now that we're down a character and I don't actually have anyone else unlocked, we would be able, if I had someone else unlocked, to be able to sub in another character, but
The place
don't
is a
have
little
that.
worse for wear, but familiar nonetheless.
Did he come back? No, he didn't come back. Yeah, empty chair. So given that we don't have another character, pretty much not going to be able to proceed further than this. I think it would be smart for us to cash in here, like I had mentioned, and the expedition and cash in, rather than risk the candles that we have accrued at this point. We have 8, which isn't, you know, super amazing. We didn't really find a whole lot on the way. You can just find them from road encounters and from things that have candles on that little map, but since we didn't find those, we got 8, but, you know, I'll take it. That'll get us maybe another character, so we don't have to worry about having a 3-man roster in the future if we lose somebody, so... but yeah, that I think is probably going to call it for this run. We're going to go ahead and collect that hope and cash that on in. And this will be kind of familiar if you were here at the very, very beginning. This leads us right back to launch point for the next
The
run.
seat of your
Select
denial,
next
perched
confession of denial and
precariously in
resume
the
again if
murky
you so
gloaming.
chose, so... Boy, well, I think with that being said, that should do well for our first run. I know that was real long-winded. We won't need nearly as much explanation for our future as we, you know, have understanding of all these systems and tokens and things, and we'll be able to just flow much more quickly and achieve progress, make our way towards boosting that roster, boosting that profile progress, getting more trinkets, more baubles, more paths for our guys, more unlocked skills, all of these things working in conjunction to help us secure that lair boss takedown, which will then help us get to that boss for the actual boss takedown. So it's all coming together one step at a time. But I think with that being said, we're going to call that a done deal. I will see y'all